What we'll be doing today is talking about yarn, especially yarn for the brother KH230. The reason why I wanted to talk about the yarn is because there are some issues that have come up, especially when it comes to cabling. And I thought it would be a great idea to discuss it and to try and solve some of the issues that yarns have when you use for the machine. Sometimes people blame the machine for something not working, but we never seem to consider that maybe the yarns are the difficulty uh, that makes the knitting process a little bit more harder to do. Today I'll be working with two yarns. This is a double knit and this is an Aran knit. Basically, what I wanted to do with these two yarns is I wanted to do cabling because this video will be about cabling, and I wanted to just talk about how cabling can work for this machine, and so that when you buy your yarns, you can save a little bit by working with yarns that may be a little bit more tricky to work with, or you buy yarns that you've never tried before. Uh, the yarns are quite important in some ways because it's also about cost and how you can save. The other thing about knitting machines is they take a lot of yarn. So if you wanted to do something as basic as a jumper or even some lace work, it actually does take up a lot of yarn. So it's always good to understand the yarns that you're working with, and just to save a little bit. What I'm doing now is I'm just going to do some cast on, and I'm doing about 30 needles. It's just to start off the pattern. I'm also going to do a bit of ribbing, and the reason why I'm doing ribbing is just to see how the tightness will work with the yarn as I progress with the project. I've basically done my cast on and I've knitted 10 rows. So I'm just going to do some ribbing. I'm not going to show the actual whole process. I just wanted to do some ribbing so that I can talk about the yarn and go on to the cabling processes. Basically now I've done the ribbing and I'm going to just talk about the difficulties I had with cabling. Basically, what I found was that when started doing cabling, it was extremely tight. And but this is the actual normal knitting that I have been using with this yarn. This yarn is an Aran yarn, which is a 5 millimeter size needle if you had to do it by hand. And this is actually the correct yarn that you use for these machines. What I found was that the cable was extremely tight. So what I'm going to do now is just change uh, the, um, the stitch length and just change how that will work and see if I can improve on doing cabling. Here you can see I've have the stitch length on 7.5, and what I'm going to do is turn it right up to basically 10. The reason why I'm going to do that is I want to make sure that the cabling isn't as tight as it was with the normal stitching, and we'll see if that works. Basically, what I've done is I've done two rows, and now I'm going to start the cabling. I'm going to start from the center, and I'm going to work on six stitches altogether. I thought I would do six stitches. I should have just done two by two, but it's the cabling of six stitches that's really important to me because that will make a much better cable, and that's what I'm going to do now. What I'll be doing now is I'm going to be using these six prongs for the machine, and this is what I'm going to be using to create my cable. Um, Sometimes they don't have it in the actual pack, so sometimes you just got to wait until you get three of these, and this is how you work with your cabling. What I've done is I pre-did a cable just to see if it would work, and it actually seems to work. So now I'm going to show you how the cable works. Um, you always need to test your yarn to see how this will work. It's always a good thing to test your yarn to see how it will work on cabling or patterning or any kind of project you want to do. So basically, I'm going to be choosing six needles. Here, this has got a center line onto that's a printed piece that's on here, and this just shows the center point. And I will be selecting three needles on either side, and those are the needles I'll be working with. And it's really quite easy to do, and it's it's a nice way of creating patterning without having to use a punch card. What I'm going to do now is do the cabling, and this is basically what I do. Basically, what I do is I take the three first stitches off, like so, and basically I just put that on the needle like so, and that's how I leave it. And then I work on the other three stitches. It doesn't matter which side you start from, and then you just insert these needles onto here, and that's the half of it, the cable you've done. And then you take these three stitches that you have on here, you just unhook it from that needle, and then you transfer it to the other side. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky, and you just need to get the loops over. Make sure your latches are open, and you just transfer them stitches onto the actual needle. I'm sitting at an angle here, so it's a little bit tricky to do this. So there you go. I've got those stitches on, and that's your first cable that you've done. I've done a cable underneath, as I said. I was just wanting to practice, and this is basically how you do your cable. I'm going to just do some other cables on the other side, and I'm just going to show you kind of the end product of doing these cables. Here I have finished the cable. As you can see, it's come out really well. I was working from this side, and this is how it came out. Like I was saying a bit earlier on, you've got to change your stitch dial to make it a bigger knit so you can do your cables. And then you can actually make a very nice cable when you do your knitting. I've only just worked from left to right with this cable, but overall it's come out really well, and I'm quite pleased with it. This rib is a little bit tighter as you can see, and this is a bit more loose. I can say it's looser because of the loops that are on the side here. As you can see, the gaps are a little bit bigger, but overall it actually works as a very nice cable. Um, I would just always test the yarn to see if it works, and if you test it, it will, you know, determine how you do your cables. So this is the first sample I'm doing. I'm just going to try a double knit or DK yarn and see how that works. With the double knit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the stitch dial down to about 6, and just have a look and see how that works. I just want to gauge it so that when I do the cables, it will be useful, so that it'll be easier to do cabling. So I've just got to get the measurement correctly, so I will be doing that now. I've basically done the cast on now. I'm not going to do a ribbing because I want to go directly into doing the cable. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to change the stitch dial to 7, and or I'm going to change it to 8. I think I'll change it to 8, and then I will test it to see how the cable works then. Here I am at 6, so I'm going to put this to 8, and I'm going to do 2 rows, and then I'm going to start the cabling. Basically, what I wanted to do was show you a tip when I do the cabling. Basically, what I do is I take the first set of cables that I'm going to use, and I basically just take it off the needles like so. And what I do is I actually hook the last pin of the transfer tool, and I just hook it onto that needle, and then I take the next 3 stitches that I'm going to transfer, and then I take those off and I transfer them onto the other needle like so. And sometimes it's just a little bit more tricky, and then I push those back. I take that off the transfer tool. With the transfer tool, I take those 3 stitches, and then I put those onto those sets of needles, and then that is my cable done. That's how I do my cable. And that's basically how I do my cable. I've just got the camera in front here, so it's a little bit tricky to work with, but that's basically how I do my cabling. It's just an easier way of doing it. It's a way of where I can just work those 3 stitches on its own and just move it to that direction. Here I am, I'm just finishing off, and we're going to see what the cable looks like. Here is the cabling that I've done for the double knit. As you can see, it's worked really well. I've done the same principle as the other cabling, and I had it on 6 and this went on 8, and it works really well. So I can highly recommend it. Here's the other cabling as well. If you had to use a double knit as an insert, it would actually work really well with this yarn, or you could actually work them as separate panels, or like I say, an insert, and it would be a really easy way to do much finer cabling if you use the double knit. Well, this is the end of the video. I want to say thank you for watching. Please subscribe and leave a comment, and I'll be doing the next project soon.